Okay, washing my hands. Hey, how you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Good. So I'm Cory LE Goni. I'm a student physical therapist assistant. Just before we get started, can you verify first and last name and date of birth for you? Awesome. So Chris, today we're just gonna do we're gonna take some measurements of your lower extremities. We're gonna do some measurements of your hip, knee, ankle, toe, just to get some objective measurements so we can progress. We can see progression or deep regression based off these measurements, see how we're functionally moving. Is it okay if we get started with that today?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to do the measurements with the goniometer, just a little measurement tool that I have. Okay.
Are we measuring both today, or?
So usually we will do both.
Okay.
Just for skill check purpose, we're going to do just this side. But we always do want to measure both, whether one side's effective, one isn't, just to see how they're doing symmetrically.
Perfect.
Okay. So first we're going to do hip flexion. So normal range of hip flexion is going to be 0 to 120 degrees.
Okay.
So for hip flexion, I'm going to be over the greater trochanter, going midline of your body, and then going with the lateral epicondyle of your knee. And what we're going to do, I'm going to get you that way, and then I'm going to bring you all the way up. And get you lined up good. And I got you at about 118 degrees. Okay, so you're in the normal functional limit. Okay, next we're going to be doing, I'm going to keep you in that supine position, so I'm going to do some hip abduction. So I'm going to be going over your ASIS, and then also going down towards that condyle of the knee. I'm going to bring you out. Got you at 45 degrees, and the normal range is 0 to 45 degrees. Okay, next, we got one more hip. I'm going to wait till we get into supine. So I'm going to kind of knock everything down into this. So the last hip's in prone. I'm going to keep you in supine. So next we're going to do some knee flexion and knee extension. So knee flexion, normal range is going to be anywhere from 0 to 135 degrees. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you prop up this knee. Get my goni ready, and then all I'm going to do is I'm going to go towards your lateral malleoli. I'm going to be your lateral epicondyle, going towards the greater trochanter. I'm going to bring you in so you can't anymore. I got you at 130 degrees. For hip extension, this is a super easy measurement. I just want to make sure your back of your knee can hit the table. So that's going to put you right at 0 degrees, which is exactly where we want to be. So next we're going to do some ankle dorsi and plantar flexion. So again, we're going to be, do you mind if I bring your pants up a little bit?
Not at all.
I'm going to be lined up at the base of that fifth metatarsal. I'm going to have my fulcrum at that lateral malleoli. I'm going to have the other arm going midline the side of your leg. Okay? So for dorsiflexion, I'm going to go ahead and passively bring your ankle up. Make sure it's lined up in the tarsal. There we go. Okay, so I got you up to 22 degrees, normal 0 to 20. Now for plantar flexion, it's going to be the same exact area. I'm just going to be going the opposite way. Normal range is going to be more in this movement. It's going to be 0 to 50. So go ahead, I'm going to bring it down. I got you at 60 degrees. Okay. Cramp it up. Uh-oh. Yep. The gastroc?
No, underneath the toes.
Oh, underneath the toes. Okay. So now then we're going to stay supine. So we're going to do the tarsal joint. So inversion to eversion of that. Inversion is going to be from 0 to 35. And eversion is going to be 0 to 15. Inversion 0 to 35. So I'm going to have my fulcrum in between the malleoli anteriorly. And then I'm going to have my arm, my stationary arm going tibialis anterior, midline of the anterior leg here, and I'm going to go to the second toe. And this way, I'm going to do some inversion first. I got you at 40 degrees, so a little bit above on that one. And then eversion, I got you at 20 degrees. Good. And then I got one more supine, so this one's going to be, we're going to measure your toe. So we're going to do some flexion, extension, some abduction. So for your toe here, I'm going to have my fulcrum on the side of this metatarsal over here. I'm going to have my movement arm here. Stationary arm is going to be this way actually. And I'm going to flex your toe. Good, I got about 25 degrees. Extension, bring it back. Fix this, make sure it's, got you at 15. I'm gonna go to this side and do some abduction on the toe. I'm going to just passively bring you out of abduction, okay? Alrighty. Abduction, I got you just above 20 degrees, so 21 degrees. Alrighty. So now we are able to go into prone. So do you mind going onto your belly for me? So we'll do hip extension first. So for hip extension, I'm going to have him just bring his leg up in a second. I'm going to be that same measurement areas as I was for hip flexion. I'm going to be at that greater trochanter, midline of the body here, and going down to lateral epicondyle. And then go ahead and lift it up. Got you at 35 degrees. And then the normal for hip extension is 0 to 30 degrees. And I'm going to do one more prone, that's going to be the subtalar joint. So subtalar joint inversion, eversion, we get little movement there, so it's just going to be 0 to 5 degrees is the norm. And then I'll bring this up a little bit. So we got the fulcrum between the malleoli here. We're going to have the moving arm, midline calcaneus, and then mid calf will be the stationary arm. And I'm going to put you into movement, so I'm going to have you do some inversion. Again, just at 5 degrees. It's going to be very small. And then eversion. A little tighter on that one, just under 5 degrees, so 4 degrees there. Alright, so I just got 2 more measurements. Those are going to be in sitting. So go ahead and set up on this side of the bed for me. So this is going to be internal, external rotation of the hip. It's going to be 0 to 45 degrees. So for this one, I'm going to have my stationary arm perpendicular to the ceiling. And then I'm going to be at the lateral epicondyle. I'm going to be going straight down. What you're going to do is, I'm going to start you here. I'm going to have you do internal rotation of the hip. And I got you at 50 degrees, so a little bit above the norm there. And then external rotation, 50 degrees. Okay. Chris, you feeling okay? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that is actually all of our measurements. So now we just got some muscle length assessment test, okay? Okay. So first, I'm going to measure or assess your hip flexors. So this is called the Thomas test. So go ahead and lay supine for me. Yep, at the end here, come a little bit closer. Okay. So for this one, you're going to bend this knee up while you lay back. You're going to hold it, and then you're going to straighten this leg out. And you're going to flop back. And then you're going to let this drop.
Keeping this leg straight?
Keep it straight. Yep. Because right now we're just doing the iliopsoas muscle.
Okay.
Okay. So go ahead. Good. Not bad. Go ahead. We'll actually stay in position, and then we're going to go to a bent knee.
Okay.
Bent knee is going to do the rectus femoris in this test. Okay. So again, I'm going to let it drop. Okay. So go ahead and sit up for me. So there's those tests. We're going to kind of assess that based on the distance between the table and your leg. Rectus femoris was a little bit tighter, so a little bit, it didn't fall as low as it did your iliopsoas muscle when we cut that straight leg. Okay, any questions with that? So again, a normal muscle test with that would be your leg lowering down to the table. So anything that we can measure, the distance is something that we can have an objective measurement to see how you're progressing in those muscles. Next, we are going to do the hamstrings. So go ahead, we're going to lay supine again. You can move back for me. So with this guy, I'm going to have your leg straight up. I'm going to kind of make sure you're not hiking or anything. I want to make sure it's just all the hamstring muscle, okay? I'm going to bring you straight up. See how high I can go. And that's what I'm getting. So right here, I measure the angle you're at, and again, it'd be an objective measurement just to see how we can progress and get this muscle loosened up and stronger. Okay, and then next is going to be the straight 90-90. So I'm going to have you in a 90-degree hip flexion, and then I'm going to put you, see how high I can bring this leg up. And then again, I'll measure, see where you're at, have that objective measurement. Okay. And then our last one is the over test. So go ahead and turn that way. So this one, what you're going to do, I'm going to stabilize you here, make sure you're not rolling back on me. I'm going to actually have knee bend, bring you in a hip extension, and then I'm just going to drop your leg slowly. And that's how we're going to assess that. So if your leg drops straight down to the table, that's what we want. That's a normal muscle assessment test. If your leg were to stay up after I drop it, that's going to show a tight TFL muscle. Okay? All right, go ahead and lay back for me, Chris. I'm all done. Again, we just went over measurements of all your range of motion, and then we did some tests to see how your muscles are doing. Do you have any questions?
Nope.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris, for your time.
Alrighty.